Anakin had just told Master Windu the truth. Palpatine was a Sith Lord. Anakin proclaimed that he must come with them, but Windu was firm in the fact that he could not, that he senses the conflict in Anakin and he'll only get in the way. He must wait in the council chambers until they return. But Kit Fisto overhears this and approaches the two Jedi, expecting the Chosen One to join them in the upcoming fight.
Master Windu, respectfully, I must object. Skywalker is necessary in this mission.
I cannot approve. Look at him. You can sense the conflict within him.
And I have faith that Skywalker will stand by our side, as he has for over a decade. Too much is at stake, Master. We cannot afford to confront Sidious without him.
Anakin's chest tightened as he looked at Fisto, surprised by the trust the Jedi Master was placing in him. Windu hesitated, his gaze shifting between Fisto and Anakin. The weight of the decision was evident in his eyes. Finally, he exhaled sharply and nodded.
Very well. But you stay behind us, Anakin, and let me do the talking. The fate of the entire galaxy could be decided in the next 15 minutes.
Anakin nodded, though his mind was already racing. As they boarded the LAAT, he made eye contact with Agen Kolar and Saesee Tiin, who nodded, both approving of Anakin joining them. He felt a storm of emotions swirling within him. The fear of losing Padme, the pull to the dark side, and the trust that Fisto had shown in him. It was all becoming too much. Fisto was sensing this turmoil and turned to Anakin.
Remember, Skywalker, it is one thing to have trust in the Force, but you must have trust in the Jedi Order.
Anakin met Fisto's gaze, the words stirring something deep within him, but the doubt remained, gnawing at the edges of his resolve. Could he trust the Jedi Order? Could he trust himself? When they arrived at Palpatine's office, the tension was palpable. Windu led the way, his lightsaber in hand as the other Jedi followed. Inside the office, Palpatine sat calmly, his hands crossed in front of him, his eyes flickered to Anakin, and a faint smile played across his lips. He had expected Windu to forbade Anakin from coming, but he had always prepared for the alternative. The room seemed to grow colder as the Jedi approached. Windu stepped forward, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade.
Chancellor Palpatine, you are under arrest.
Palpatine's smile widened.
Oh, Master Windu, I'm afraid it's not going to be that simple.
You're a Sith Lord, Palpatine. You've been behind everything. The war, the suffering, the chaos, it all ends now.
Palpatine leaned back in his chair, his eyes glinting with amusement.
It's not illegal to be a Sith, Master Windu. And as for the accusation of myself, I've fought for the Republic for many years now to defeat the Separatists. I have done nothing illegal.
Windu's voice was cold and unwavering.
It doesn't matter what can be proved, Palpatine. We know you and Dooku were behind the Clone War. You are under arrest.
Palpatine's smile twisted into a sneer.
Prove it, Jedi. You cannot arrest me. With no proof, I'll be released tomorrow, and I'll deem the Jedi traitors of the Republic, which you most certainly are.
Windu's grip on his lightsaber tightened.
We'll see about that.
Without warning, Palpatine's chair shot back, and the Sith Lord leaped into the air with an unnatural speed. His crimson lightsaber ignited, and the room erupted into chaos. Agen Kolar and Saesee Tiin moved first, their blades flashing as they stood to receive Palpatine. But the Sith Lord was a whirlwind of darkness, his movements too fast to follow. With a flick of his wrist, Palpatine disarmed Kolar and drove his blade through the Jedi Master's chest. Tiin lunged next, but Palpatine spun, slicing his lightsaber through Tin's weapon and then through the Jedi himself. Both Masters fell in seconds, their bodies crumbling to the floor. Kit Fisto and Mace Windu moved in unison, their blades a blur of green and purple. Palpatine met them with ferocity that seemed almost inhuman, his crimson saber clashing against theirs in a shower of sparks. Fisto's fluid acrobatic style complemented Windu's aggressive Vapod technique, forcing Palpatine to retreat momentarily. But Anakin simply stood frozen, his lightsaber in hand but unignited. He watched as Palpatine fought with a brutality that sent chills down his spine. The Sith Lord's face twisted into a mask of rage, his yellow eyes glowing with the dark side. This wasn't the wise and kind Chancellor Anakin had known. This was a monster. Palpatine saw his opening and lunged at Fisto, his blade aimed to kill. But before the strike could land, Anakin ignited his lightsaber and intercepted the blow, the blue blade locking with Palpatine's red one.
Anakin, would you turn against me after all I've done for you?
Anakin's eyes burned with determination.
You're evil. You only ever sought to control me.
Help you, not control you, Anakin. Only I have the power to save the one you love.
The fight intensified. Windu and Fisto pressed their blades, weaving a deadly pattern around Palpatine. Anakin fought defensively, his movements precise. He was still conflicted, still unsure where his loyalties lay, but the sight of Palpatine's cruelty was beginning to sway him. Realizing he was outnumbered, Palpatine reached out with the Force, hurtling furniture and debris at the Jedi. Windu deflected those projectiles with his saber, while Fisto used his agility to dodge. Anakin, however, was caught off guard and thrown against the wall. His lightsaber slipped from his hand. Palpatine seized this opportunity, pulling a vibro blade from his sleeve and lunging it at Windu. The Jedi Master barely managed to block the strike, cutting across his chin directly under his eye. Palpatine's face was a mask of fury as he pressed the attack, his movements growing more erratic and savage. As Anakin struggled to his feet, he watched the fight with growing clarity. Palpatine's use of the dark side was undeniable. The way he channeled his anger, the way he relished in the violence. This wasn't the path to saving Padme. This was pure madness. Fisto saw his chance and disarmed Palpatine with a swift strike, sending the vibro blade and lightsaber clattering to the floor. Windu stepped forward, his blade raised.
It's over, Sidious.
Palpatine snarked, his hands crackling with Sith lightning.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
The lightning surged towards Windu, but the Jedi Master caught it with his blade. Anakin, now fully committed, reached out with the Force and threw Palpatine back towards the rear. The Sith Lord struggled, but Anakin's grip was strong as he forced Palpatine to the ground. His body weakened by the lightning and Force grip. Windu deactivated his lightsaber and approached.
You'll face justice for your crimes, Palpatine.
Fisto places a hand on Anakin's shoulder.
You did the right thing, Skywalker. The Force was with you.
They returned to the Jedi Temple, taking Palpatine to their jail whilst the Council held a session. The holographic forms of Yoda and other Jedi stationed across the galaxy flickered in the dim light. Windu's voice was firm as he addressed the Council.
Chancellor Palpatine is in our custody. He is the Sith Lord we have been searching for, Darth Sidious. With Skywalker's help, we were able to capture him.
All eyes turned to Anakin, who stood silently. Fisto stepped forward and spoke.
Anakin was pivotal in the fight. Without him, it's likely we would have lost, and I certainly would have lost my life.
Windu nodded.
For his bravery and skill, I suggest he be granted the rank of Jedi Master.
A murmur of approval rippled throughout the Council.
A great responsibility, this is. But earned it has been. Agree, I do.
Anakin bowed, as he couldn't believe it, the rank and title he'd always wanted. And now finally, he can search the Jedi archives for the secret to save his wife from certain death. Obi-Wan, who had been silent until now, spoke.
While you're dealing with Palpatine, my clones detected a ship heading to Mustafar. It no doubt carries the Separatist leaders. If we act quickly, we can bring them to justice and end this war once and for all.
Yoda turned to him.
To Mustafar you will go. Back to Coruscant, bring them you will. Their testimony to prove Palpatine's involvement in the war we will need.
Obi-Wan nodded as his hologram disappeared, but not before he shot a smile at Anakin, proud of what his apprentice was able to achieve. Ki-Adi-Mundi spoke next.
In the interim, we must take control of the Senate. I understand this is dangerous, but we don't know how deep Palpatine's connection was. He controls the bureaucrats and the courts. If we don't, we may lose democracy in the Republic.
Agree, I do. A message to all Jedi we must send. Defeated Sidious has been. Ended the war has.
The Council agreed, and they set this plan into motion. The Senate building was in uproar. The arrest of Chancellor Palpatine had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy, and factions were already forming. Mace Windu, Palpatine's loyal aide, stood at the podium as his voice boomed across the chamber.
The Jedi's actions are unconstitutional and outright illegal.
They have no right to imprison the Chancellor without evidence. I demand his immediate release.
The Palpatine faction erupted in cheers, their voices echoing through the vast chamber, but the Jedi who had temporarily taken control of the Senate stood firm. Mace Windu stamped forward, his presence commanding silence.
The Jedi have ended the war. Count Dooku and General Grievous are dead, and the Separatist leaders are being brought to Coruscant as we speak. We have reason to believe Chancellor Palpatine is guilty of high treason. His arrest was necessary to protect the Republic.
Senator Bail Organa, a member of the delegation of 2000, spoke next.
The Jedi have acted in the best interest of the Republic. We must trust their judgment and allow the legal process to unfold. This is not the time for division.
The following day, the Separatist leaders were brought to Coruscant before the Senate, and their testimonials were damning. Newt Gunray spoke first, revealing how Dooku and Sidious had orchestrated the war, manipulating both sides for their own gain. The Jedi then presented their own evidence of the link between Sidious and Palpatine being the same person, playing the audio of the Jedi confronting Palpatine and calling him Sidious, with Palpatine's reaction essentially confirming it to be the truth. With Palpatine's crimes exposed, the Senate moved to restore democratic powers. The emergency measures enacted during the war were repealed, and the delegation of 2000 worked tirelessly to ensure transparency and accountability. While there are still rumbles of distaste towards the Jedi, the majority of the Senate recognized their role in saving the Republic. Anakin stood on the balcony of his and Padme's apartment, staring out at the Coruscant sky. The city planet was alive with light and motion, but Anakin's mind was elsewhere. He had accepted that Palpatine was evil, and the Sith Lord had only been trying to manipulate him, but a flicker of doubt still remained. What if the dreams had been real? What if Padme's fate was sealed? Padme's due date was approaching, and Anakin was running out of options. He couldn't bear the thought of losing her. He had to do something, but he couldn't do it alone. He decides to reach out to Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, inviting them to his home. Anakin sits down with Padme by his side and tells them the truth, that he and Padme are married and are expecting a child. Both of their eyes widened, but then smiled, explaining how they had known for a long time, or at least suspected. However, Anakin goes on to explain his nightmares of her dying in childbirth, and how he doesn't know how to save her. Obi-Wan puts his hand on his chin.
Have the dreams stopped since Palpatine's death?
Anakin nodded.
Yes, but I can't shake the feeling that something might happen.
But Ahsoka leans forward.
Maybe the dreams were tied to Palpatine. If he's gone, the future might have changed.
Obi-Wan agreed.
It's possible. The dark side clouds everything, and Palpatine's influence could have been the source of your visions. But we should be prepared just in case.
Anakin's eyes lit up with hope.
Do you think there's anything in the Jedi archives about saving someone from death?
Obi-Wan shook his head.
I've searched the restricted sections before. There's nothing definitive. The Jedi believe death is a natural part of life, not something that can be cheated.
But Ahsoka places a hand on Anakin's shoulder.
But that doesn't mean we can't help. If the dreams have stopped, it's a good sign. We'll be here for you, Anakin, no matter what.
As the days passed, Anakin's anxiety lessened. The nightmares did not return, and when Padme went into labor, he felt a sense of calm he hadn't known in months. With Obi-Wan and Ahsoka by his side, Anakin and Padme welcomed his children, Luke and Leia, into the world, healthy and full of life. The Skywalker family had begun, and for the first time in years, Anakin felt truly at peace. For 3 years, Anakin and Padme raised their children in secret, but as Luke and Leia grew, their Force sensitivity became impossible to hide. When the Jedi Council discovered them, Anakin was forced to stand in front of the Council and confess that he was the father of the twins. The Council erupted into murmurs. Some masters like Mundi called for Anakin's removal from the Council and even ordered,
Attachments are forbidden for a reason. This is a breach of our most sacred principles.
But others like Kit Fisto and Plo Koon defended him.
Anakin represents the future of the Jedi. He has proven that attachments do not weaken him. If anything, they have made him stronger. Perhaps it is time for our principles to evolve.
The debate raged for days, but ultimately, the council reached a decision. Anakin would remain on the council and in the Order. This marked the beginning of a new era for the Jedi, one where attachments were no longer forbidden. Luke and Leia became younglings, excelling in their training. When they were old enough, they became Padawans. Luke to Obi-Wan and Leia to Ahsoka, who had rejoined the Order. During this time, Anakin and Padme welcomed 2 more children into their family, Qui-Gon and Shmi Skywalker. Years passed and the Jedi Order flourished under Anakin's leadership. When Yoda stepped down as Grand Master, Anakin took his place, ushering in a new era of change and growth. This became an era of change in the Jedi Order. The principles of attachments were changed, and the Jedi were now allowed to have families of their own, if they so chose, and many did. The Jedi continued to protect the galaxy, entering a new age of peace and prosperity, led by Anakin Skywalker and his family. The Jedi continued to protect and serve, their legacy forever changed by the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker. Thank you all for watching today's video. Please check out our saber shop, Fantasy Sabers, where you can get your very own NeoPixel saber for an affordable price and fulfill your childhood dreams of becoming a Jedi or Sith.